World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Good night, everyone. I am so excited to be here, to be done, your host for the Bold Show. And like always, we bring stories of hardship and stories of challenges. And our whole idea is to motivate, impact, and inspire everyone. We all go through challenges, we all have setbacks, but it's how we're able to overcome. Again, happy Black History Month, Black Her Story Month. This is a chance for us to reflect on our ancestors and all they've done for us to be in this space. So tonight, I am super excited and grateful to be talking to an amazing young man. His name is Sean Hubbard. He's a Christian, he's a Black man, he's ambitious, and he's not going to stop. But tonight, it's a serious conversation we're going to be having. Imagine being 19 years old, walking, going about your merry business, and you're being pulled over, racial profiling, because you're Black and you fit a profile, right? Impact. How do you overcome? And it has not changed. I have some statistics here from the New York Civil Liberties Union. And in 2021, 8,940 stops were recorded. 5,422 were innocent, 61%. 5,404 were Black. I'll repeat that. 5,404 were Black. That's 6%. 2,457 were Latinx, 27%. And 732 were white, 8%. 192 were Asian, Pacific Islanders, and 71 were Middle Eastern, Southwestern Asian. This happens on a regular basis. And one of the most dramatic and consistent aspects of stop and frisk is its disproportionate impact on New Yorkers of color, particularly Black New Yorkers. Our Black men are incredibly afraid. There's this fear, there's this anxiety, not knowing what to expect. Tonight, I am looking forward to this conversation and to show you that we can overcome and we shall overcome. And darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. By Dr. Martin Luther King. Tonight, please help me welcome our guest, the one and only Sean Hubbard.
Thank you so much for having me, Marie. I'm certainly humbled and appreciative of that tremendous introduction. Not sure I'm worthy of that, but I'm certainly thankful. Thanks for having me.
The humility of our Black men, right? Thank you so much. But Sean, why don't you do the honors of telling our viewers tonight who you are?
I'm just a humble black man trying to make it, and I know that sounds pretty cliche, but that's pretty much where it is right now. I'm thankful for another day that God has blessed me with. A young man from New Rochelle, New York, born and raised, roots in the South, and a belief that you treat people the way you want to be treated. Believer in God, Christian man, proud black man, and I'm certainly somebody that believes in family and values. Um, Grew up a little bit sheltered, and I say that in a complimentary way by my parents. Had to learn how to fight, had to learn how to protect myself, and had to learn what it's like to be black in America. And it was a tough road to travel, but I'm thankful for that road, and I'm thankful for those experiences. For without those, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I guess I would just say, Marie, that I'm just a brother trying to make it. Brother trying to make it. Thankful to be here.
So I'm going to correct you, right? Because communication and language is so key. You're not just a brother, you're an important Black man, right? And I want you to own that, right? Your presence alone, your aura that you bring, it's enough. So, I was in my introduction, like I talk about the impact of, like, the introduction is really about racial profiling. And we're going to dive deeper into this conversation. But something you said, that you grew up really sheltered, right?
Right.
And that's an honor. But let us hear more about that shelter in arms that held you so tightly.
Well, I want to give a big shout out to Cindy and Derek Hubbard, my parents. Still together, still happy, still blessed. I grew up, like I said, very strict household, sheltered household. My parents weren't playing a lot of that running outside kind of stuff. It wasn't going to be girls running in and out of the house. It wasn't going to be hanging out till all hours of the night. I would even say that at that time, as a youth, I thought it was probably delving into the range of overprotective. But being a man now, and having having my experiences now, I realized it was just parents trying to protect their sons. So it would be a situation: we go to church on Sunday, back home from school. I mean, I played sports, so I was able to go to practice and do what I had to do to play basketball and baseball and things like that. But as far as being in the street, it just wasn't something that was allowed. My mother was the type to look out the windows, hanging out with some friends when I was young, playing ball on the street, but I better not go past that certain point. I could better not go past that point where she couldn't see me, or she'd be outside tracking me down. And again, as a youth, as a kid, it felt over the top, but now it's just a mother trying to protect the son. And but as much good as was in that. There was a small part that was a little bit rough, which is the fact that once I got older, I had to learn some things that unfortunately I was shielded from. Like I said, as a youth, a parent can only do so much, and I salute my parents so much, and they've taught me a lot about what it's like to be a parent, how to be a good parent. Um, but back then, I had to learn the hard way, fighting and picking up on certain things that my parents successfully, and to their credit, shielded me from. And a couple of black guys later, you learn what it's like to be a man the hard way. But it's a lesson that I'm happy to have learned and happy to pass on.
I'm super grateful for your parents as well, right? And as you talk, as I sit here and I listen to you talking about that structure, that nuclear structure that you, and how, you know, like, when I think about today's society, and when I look around and I see all that's happening, and even talking about an, as I remember growing up as a child in the Caribbean myself, like, we were pretty sheltered as well. And just looking back and seeing where we are today, right? And thinking how much privileged we were. I don't think we realized how privileged we were growing up. Even though we fussed, and we probably think that, what, our parents don't want to give us the luxury of being children, right? But they were protecting us from what is out there in that world that's actually lurking. So, Sean, I want you to talk to me about you are always protected. And then something happened. Like life started happening, and being a Black man, you realized that you were a target. Talk to us about that.
That's an amazing lead in, Marie, and so appropriate for this situation. Again, sheltered as a child in a good way. Blessed to have and had great parents. Still thankful to have them. But yes, college came around. You know, high school was, like I said, it was pretty much go out, come home. I might go to a party here and there, but my parents were in the parking lot telling me to come out 10 minutes early to avoid the rush. And I was in the car, you know. But then I went to college. You know, I went to college and I went away for my first year. And I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory about my college life before I even get to this story. Because I was 18 years old, I went away to school and literally had to come home the next year because I partied and I had a good time and I cut my first opportunity to do so. Um, it was awesome, but it was, I mean, a year wasted, money wasted, but you know, memories for a lifetime, right? But to get to the story and to the crux of what we came here to talk about this evening, I was home on that summer. I was home during that summer, and I went to a friend's home. And it was somebody I've known my whole life, and we had a good time. It was a young lady's house, and it was a party over at her house. And you know, my parents, to their credit, right, overprotective parents, but to their credit, once I went away to school, they said, okay, let's let him do his thing a little bit. We're not, you know, he's 19, he's not no baby no more. We protected him for 18 years. We still love him, but now that he's grown, let him do his thing a little bit. So I went to this party, and at some point during the party, I guess my friends, I've never been a drinker, I've never been a smoker, but my friends drank, right? So they wanted to do a beer run. So they wanted to go down to the end of the block and get some beer, whatever it is they were trying to get. And they were like, Sean, you want to walk with us? I was like, sure, no doubt. Walk down the street, you know, sirens, flashing lights. And this is where the sheltered part comes in, right? Because I've never experienced this before. Cops pulled us over, as I like to say, you know, WWB, walking while black, right? It's said in a joking way, but it's not a joke at all. And told to put my hands up against the wall, and told to spread my legs, and told to assume the position of being patted down and questioned about what I was doing in this neighborhood and why I was out this late. Grown man, 19 years old, patted down, asked why I was out so late, asked what I was doing in that neighborhood. My friends on a line, all four of us, being humiliated, disrespected by the institution that's supposed to be protecting us. And that was the day that everything changed for me, Marie. It was the day that I realized that as much as I thought I knew about the world, I knew absolutely nothing. I knew as a youth that I was proud to be black because that's what my grandfather and my parents instilled in me. I knew what it meant to be black and the importance of being black and the privilege, not afraid to say it, the privilege of being black with all the history and all the love that comes and through our lineage and through our history. I knew about that, but I didn't know what it was like to be black in this way. I didn't know what it was like to be disrespected and to be humiliated, robbed of dignity, robbed of my opportunity just to walk down the street simply because I was a black man. So after they found nothing on us, the thing that I remember the most, Marie, about that night, amongst all the things that I went through, they simply said, okay, have a good night. Now, to some people that might not mean anything. That shouldn't mean anything compared to everything I went through. Wrong. That okay, have a good night symbolized that this was status quo for them, that this was normal for them, that this was something that was in no way outside of the ordinary. They didn't realize the effect that they had on that 19-year-old kid. They didn't realize the effect they had on my 19-year-old friends and 20-year-old friends. They didn't realize that by saying have a good night, that my life would never be the same ever again. So that set the stage for me asking more questions and trying to inquire more about my family's history. And it built in me and birthed in me the desire for to be a person that could be somebody that can make a difference in my community, in the Black community.
Wow, Sean. Thank you for being so vulnerable. As I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm feeling those emotions and I'm getting angry
Mm-hmm.
because you're just guilty of being a Black man,
That's right.
a proud Black man. Just go ahead, minding your own business. If you don't mind me asking, like, what time of night was it? Like,
It was late. It was late, Marie. And but see, the thing was for me being a little bit of a, I see this in a tongue in cheek kind of way, like me being a little bit of a nerd. You know what I'm saying? As a youth, I made sure I was the guy that always made sure the ducks were in a row. And believe me, when I finish this story, you'll understand where I'm going with this, Marie. I was always sure that there was a 21-year-old with us to make sure that we got the beer legally. I was always sure that we were walking together in case there was any kind of problem so we could all be there to have each other's back. I was that guy, right? So to me, all the ducks were in a row. But I guess in their mind, us walking down the street at 1 o'clock in the morning was a right to make us feel like we were criminals. Because to me, even 15 some odd years later, I shouldn't be patted down and I shouldn't be questioned and I shouldn't be done that way unless I'm suspected of being a criminal. So clearly, walking while Black, and I say again, a lot of people say that in a fun, joking way because it's just a nice play on words to make people smile when they're trying to hide their tears. Clearly, walking while Black was a crime that night, and it continues to be to this day.
I can't help but think about our young Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have had a conversation about ignorance,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing the law, not knowing your rights, not knowing what you're entitled to, right? Um, Before I dive into that conversation, talk to me about what it really means to be a Black man in America. For
Well,
you.
I'm glad you added the in America part because the
Mhm.
leaving the America part in America part out changes that answer tremendously.
Absolutely.
Being a Black man in America is having to watch your back 24 hours a day, having done nothing to watch your back for. Being Black and being a Black man specifically in America means that you leave your mother or your wife, I'm speaking as myself now, your mother or your wife or your girlfriend at home to leave for your daily routine and having that wife or mother or girlfriend worry about whether or not you're going to come home. Being a Black man in America is a situation where you are looked at as less than simply for the color of your skin. Being a Black man in America is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to make change. It's an opportunity to make a difference. However, in a case like mine, which I think is very common, you are first put through the fire before you can be in a position to make those changes. Because without being put through the fire, without feeling that heat, you don't know what you're fighting for. You know, like I said before, you know about your family's history. You know that there's something inside you and there's a part of you that is special and it's amazing. The melanin that's in your skin is this amazing wonder of a gift that God has blessed you with. However, until you experience the pain, being Black in America doesn't resonate because it's like, okay, I'm just a Black man and I'm thankful to be a Black man and I know the importance and the love that comes with being a Black man. But then it shows you that at the end of the day, through life experience, unfortunately, being black in America and a black man in America, and I hate even saying this, but it's the truth. Being a black man in America is a liability in people's minds because it puts you in a position to be looked at as less than when it's absolutely not the case. And it's something that I live with every day, but I refuse to succumb to it because God has been too good to me for me to sit up here and be a coward and be afraid because we all know that even though that's how some people look at us, less than, liability, thug, drug dealer, manipulator, womanizer, I'm not going to allow myself to be tied up in that. I may have to fight through it, but I'm going to fight valiantly because that's what a black man does.
That is powerful, Sean. That is so powerful. But I think, like, listening to you talk, like, there is this fire in you. There is this need in you to show our Black men, right? And others that you are worthy. I am a proud Black man. I am a man outside of the color of my skin, and I ought to be respected. But tell me a little bit about your family's history, because this need and this urgency and this desire that I hear in your voice when you talk, it also comes from the Christianity that you talk about, but it comes from something deeper. Talk to us about that history.
Most definitely, Marie. Thank you. Obviously Christianity is a big part. A lot of our history as Black folks is the faith based origins that give us the strength to continue to push forward and move on through these unfortunate, unnecessary, and unfair potholes and speed bumps that America has put in front of us as Black people. But also, through doing some research and through my parents speaking to me and having conversations with my late grandmother, God rest her soul, it made sense why I was so passionate about civil rights. And it made sense why I was so passionate about equal rights for Black people and how I wanted my people to overcome, because my father, my grandfather, Herman V. Bailey, marched with Dr. King in 1963 on the March on Washington. He was a civil rights leader right here in Westchester, New York. He was somebody who traveled from city to city, county to county, preaching the same message of Dr. King. Of course, Dr. King is one of the most prolific civil rights leaders in the history of this country. Big love and shout out to the memory of Dr. King and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman and all the great leaders that have come before us. And my grandfather was right in the trenches with these wonderful people and walked side by side on the front lines with Dr. King. And it was funny because years back when I was told about this and then shown pictures and things like that, magazine articles, it all made sense to me. It all made sense to me because it was a situation, and forgive me, I'm getting a little emotional talking about this. That moment as a 19-year-old kid being pulled over by the police for no reason, sure, it would have hit me. It would have hit me hard because I'm a human. But it hit me extra hard once I realized my family's history, because there was this undeniable, uncontrollable hunger inside me that said, this cannot go on, and I'm willing to do anything within my power that God blesses me with to allow or to do something to stop the next man from having to go through this. And it was the same thing my grandfather did, and it's something that I carry with me every single day. My history is dripped in in civil rights and dripped in activism, Marie. To the point where my alma mater, where I got my master's degree from, I was one of the founding members of a group we call Counselors for Social Justice, where we did town hall meetings and brought in the mayor and brought in different local leaders to talk and to express sentiment to those who may not understand. See, that's the thing, Marie. Some people are evil. Some people are nasty. Some people are raised this way, right? But then there's some people who just don't understand. And that's the key element to me of the demographic we should be trying to reach. The person who doesn't understand. Because if we can somehow get someone that doesn't look like us to understand what it's like to be us, that's when true change can begin. And that's the mission that I live by. I want to make people understand. I'm not going to beat you in the head, but if you're willing to listen, I can tell you some things that can give you some information that can move you into a different mental space to realize that I'm not who your great grandfather says I am. I'm not who your father's father's father says I am. Learn who I am for me, and maybe you'll be educated, and maybe it'll change your view, because when you cut yourself off from an entire race, you're cutting yourself off from a life full of experiences, a life full of good times, a life full of wonderful memories that you could experience if you simply open up your mind and see me as a human being, not just a color.
Matt says, I grew up in a neighborhood of nice houses in the Northeast, mostly Italian, with a few blacks and Latinos mixed in. I remember as a 15-year-old in my cousin and I, along with a good friend that lived in the neighborhood, got taken from the steps of my house because a call of a stolen bike came into the police. They put us in the police car and drove us to the house that the theft took place at. To their surprise, the house was some Latino friends of mine. Wow. And these are the things that like our black men subjected to just because we're black.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean, like with sharing your rich history, right? And I know we've had conversation about this ignorance. And I think for me, knowledge is power.
Certainly.
Reading is fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm going to step back for a second and I'm going to like appeal to our black people. I'm going to appeal to our black families. I'm going to appeal to folks who feel they don't have that right. I'm appealing to folks who think that they can't do better and that they're not worthy. I am asking and I'm urging, this is urgent, for us to come together, change our mind, change our way we look at each other. Because it's bad enough when we have folks coming against us and putting us down. But when we talk about the black and black racism, and we talk about the violence that we put on each other, like that's something that we have to live with. But I want us to change the narrative, because already there is the stigma, there is the labeling. And we don't know the true story. White people or Caucasian people, that's telling our narrative, that's controlling what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our responsibility to seek the right knowledge and teach our children, our little boys. How do you propose, Sean, to help overcome this ignorance? What are your thoughts around that?
I'm almost tongue-tied with the words that just want to come. This is a controversial statement, but I think it's fairly accurate, and it's something that breaks my heart. For some reason, we as black folks do not show the same camaraderie and togetherness as some other races. I understand that we, and this is a good thing about us, we have competitive spirits. We like to win. There's nothing wrong with liking to win. That's why we're so successful in certain areas. But there's just something about, I'm so thankful that I've avoided this way of thinking, but there's just something about when you see another black person get ahead, or when you see another black person succeed, that there are some who just can't wrap their head around that. They are so comfortable in mediocrity that they want to pull their brother down or their sister down. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame because if we would unite, oh my goodness, if we would unite, the strength that comes from our ancestors and our lineage would run through us like the like I can't even describe, just it would fuel us to such successes that are beyond measure and beyond imagination. And I just want, and I'm so glad you brought this up, because as much as we fight against racism from other races, we struggle amongst ourselves. And then you ask us, what is it about that brother that you don't like? They barely can tell you. They barely can put it into, oh, well, I just don't like the way he looked at me. We're so, see here, let me say this too. We've been, and it's not an excuse, but it's real. We've been hurt for so long that our defenses are always up. You understand what I'm saying? We've been hurt and disrespected and ridiculed and put down for so long that our defenses are always up, where even when someone that looks like us approaches us, we feel like we still need to keep that guard up. And we need to just make sure that we put that guard down enough to allow ourselves to not succumb to that hatred, because if we're not going to stick together, how can we expect to survive? I mean, and it is, and I know survive may sound like a dramatic word, but it's real. We're trying to live, Marie. We're trying to live, and God forbid we kill each other. There's so many forces outside of us that are trying to take us out. God forbid it happens from the inside. Why are we fighting this civil war when there's a war going on beyond us, that people are trying to come inside, and we're fighting from the outside in instead of from the inside out? And it hurts. It hurts because you see your brother and your sister shot, killed, stabbed, and you expect, maybe I'll just speak for myself, you expect to hear that they were taken out by someone that doesn't look like us. You expect to hear that they were taken out by somebody that doesn't understand us, that doesn't walk our walk and talk our talk. And you start praying, you start saying, God, protect us from those who come up against us. But then you realize that person that killed that young man, that person that killed that young sister looked just like us. And then you start asking, why? And until we get to that answer, we're going to still fight this uphill battle. An uphill battle that's already uphill. Yeah. We're already going up hills, and we're making mountains for ourselves. Heartbreaking.
It is. It is. And as controversial as it may seem, we have to name what's happening. Because once we start acknowledging that, then that's where we could, because it's a lot of internal conflict as well that us Black people, we need to work on. Mm-hmm. And we got to peel away those layers, those traumas, right, that we've all gone through. And again, it goes back to that ignorance.
Right.
It goes back to when you look within our Black community, and when we talk about mental health, when we talk about self-care, when we talk about self-love, and when we even talk about the fabric of what a family structure should look like. And my hope is that we can start taking responsibility for our role in this whole equation.
And also,
go ahead.
No, please. I didn't mean to cut you off.
We have responsibility for our role. Like you and I, we could sit here and we could acknowledge what we're seeing. We could name it, right? But then there are folks who may hear us and may feel disrespected. They may feel hurt by what we have to say, but the truth. And my goal is that hopefully some sweet day, I'm a woman of faith, right? I still have hope that some sweet day we can look at each other, look at our brothers and our sisters, and say, Queen, King, I adore you, and mean it.
It's true. It's true. And what I was going to add was we have to start asking ourselves the question, even though there is, like I said, this natural angst and hurt that we have because of things we've been through, and that's all valid, right? I live it with it every single day. However, we gotta stop acting like or walking around like love isn't cool anymore. That love is weakness. That love shows that you're soft. There's not a soft bone in my body, but I will love you unconditionally because that is my job as your brother. That is my job as your father. That is my job as your husband. That is my job as your person that walks with you in the struggle. I'm supposed to love you. That's my privilege. So let's get out of this habit and this belief that, oh, you're soft if you show emotion. You're soft if you show love. You're soft if you show that you care. That doesn't make you a coward. That makes you a man. That makes you a woman. That makes you somebody that's standing up for what's right and saying, hey, I'm going to buck the system. And I'm going to go against this narrative that showing love is against the rules. I'm going to go against this narrative that says I'm supposed to treat this woman like dirt because she won't do what I say. I'm going to go against this narrative for my sisters out there that goes against, that says I got to get this out of a man and get as much money out of a man. I'm going to love my wife the way she deserves to be loved. I'm going to love, and for the ladies, love my husband the way he deserves to be loved. I'm going to treat my brother that I don't even know as if he is my brother, because even if I don't know him from a can of paint, I know that we walk the same walk and talk the same talk. I will not allow love to be played anymore. I will not allow love to be looked at as corny anymore. We got to get out of it. Everybody wants to be swaggy and cool and off the rails, and everybody wants to be lit. But you know what? Let's be real. I'd rather be real than be lit. I'd rather be real than be swaggy. And we got to get back to loving each other. And we got to get out of the mindset that love is softness, that love is not cool, that love means that you're showing weakness. No, it takes courage to love. It takes courage to love. It takes courage to look in your brother's eyes, look in your sister's eyes and say, I love you. I don't have to know you to love you. I love your perseverance. I love your intelligence. I love the fact that you can survive. I love the fact that you can stand up for what you believe in. We may not agree on everything, but you know, we're walking this walk together, bruh. We're walking this walk together, sis. And I refuse to let love be something that's considered a detriment. That's a trick of the enemy. That's a trick of the enemy. Oh, you can't show love. You can't show weakness. That's the reason why Black relationships don't survive the way they should. Because the sister doesn't want to give up any power. The man doesn't want to give up any power. We're in this together. We're in this together. And love has to be the foundation. And it's not played out. And it's not corny. And it's not uncool to love.
Powerful. Love shall prevail. But it's so important. There is so much unlearning that we all have to do. And I think for us to even get to that place where we could start loving on each other like we should and showing kindness and gratitude, it starts with loving self first.
That's a fact.
I think the brokenness that we're seeing and that we're experiencing, the broken relationships, the broken families, it's because there is no love. The individual love that people ought to stand by and to understand and to be able to say, I am beautiful, I am gorgeous, I am who I am, and respect that and be liberated and have that freedom. I think that's what's really missing. That's the missing piece of the puzzle.
Agreed.
Because a lot of us, we walk around and we have this mask. We've been wearing this mask pre-COVID, right? And we've been lying to ourselves. Courage to love, like you said, but it takes courage to love yourself. It takes courage to look at you You know what? I was once a broken woman. I was raped. I was tortured. I was disregarded. I was disrespected, but I can still love me. So it's balancing both. It's understanding that you are God's child. You are a gift. You're not your past. And it goes back to that messaging. Our brothers, our brothers, they were taught to be a man.
Right. Right.
And so that I'm hurting, I don't cry. I'm supposed to be this masculine person. But again, it's a lot of unlearning those messages. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm honored to be in this space with you and to hear you talk so passionately. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure.
How do you propose, and what message do you have to give our lost brothers, our broken brothers, and even our queens?
Well, for the brothers out there, I think the most important element is to show vulnerability and to realize, like I said before, that being vulnerable and loving on your brother and loving on your sister does not mean you're soft. It just means that you're making yourself available for change to come into your life. That's the number one thing. Also, it's important to educate yourself, as you said earlier. Read the biography of Dr. King. Read the biography of Brother Malcolm. You know, get into your history. Realize where you come from. Realize your lineage. Realize you come from royalty. You know what I'm saying? People don't say that enough. We come from royalty. That is our lineage.
Yeah.
Kings, queens, empresses, emperors. That's our history. That is what flows through our veins. But you got to walk in that thing. You got to walk in that thing, and you got to be confident. And that doesn't mean be cocky or be arrogant. That means be convinced. I'm not cocky. I'm convinced. I'm convinced that those who sacrificed before me did not sacrifice in vain. I'm convinced that I can go out and compete for any job and compete for any deal or anything that I want, because I know that A, God is in me, and B, I have the history of excellence in my bloodline. That's for my brothers. And for my sisters, I'm going to focus, if I may, Marie, please reel me back in if I'm going off track. For my sisters, I want to talk more romantically, and believe me, I'm gonna get where I'm going. Trust me. Allow us to love you guys again. Allow us to love you guys again. There are so many young ladies out there that have been hurt, disrespected, not appreciated, and I see it in the female members of my family. I even see it in the young lady I'm dating now. It's this hurt from previous men. It's this hurt from walking, because this is where we need to go with it. Because at the end of the day, it's not just hard being a black man. Let's salute our black women too, because that's a double stigma. I'm black and I'm a man. Y'all are black and are women. Women are looked at as less than. Black women are looked at as less than. It's an unfortunate fact, but it's still a fact, right? So what we need to do is we need to embrace our women. But women, you have to allow yourselves to be loved again. I see so much hurt in y'all. And Marie, as a woman, I want you to take the ball on this one, because if I'm going off the rails, reel me back in. I feel like our sisters are so hurt right now. Mm-hmm. And our sisters are aching right now to let themselves be vulnerable again. And we need to do what we need to do as men to convince them and make sure they understand that, hey, listen, I know that previous man hurt you. I know you were disrespected. I know you were treated poorly, but you are still my black Nubian queen. I adore you. I salute you. I appreciate you. And one more thing for our sisters out there. Y'all gonna hate me for this one. Stop disrespecting each other. Stop disrespecting each other. I have never seen a group of people that hate on each other more than our sisters. And for what? Y'all are beautiful. Y'all are athletic. Y'all are intelligent. Y'all are poetic. But the second somebody has an outfit that you wish you had first, you're ready to throw somebody under the bus. The second somebody looks at your man the wrong way, you're ready to fight them or drag them outside. Be comfortable in your own skin. Remind yourself daily. And come to Marie Dunn's podcast and listen to this episode, and I'll remind you as part of this episode, you are wonderfully made. And your past does not define you. Do not allow that previous heartbreak to make you never use your heart again. Don't ever allow that previous misunderstanding stop you from opening up yourself to being understood. Never allow that previous pain to make you never put your neck out again to enjoy the pleasure. There's ebbs, there's flows, there's valleys, but then there's peaks. Don't wallow in your valley moment. Don't wallow in your valley season. Your peak is there before you. You just have to walk in that and embrace that and move towards that. You want a husband? Present yourself as a wife and don't be ashamed to do so. You want to be a mother? Prepare yourself from now to be a mother. Exhibit the qualities that it takes to be someone that can raise a child and do it effectively and appropriately. You don't want to be sexualized? Stop sexualizing yourself. You're a queen. You don't have to lower yourself to the standards of a man. It is our job to elevate our standards to you. But you forfeit your power. That's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it.
Wow, I feel like I'm in church.
I'm sorry.
I feel like I'm in church. Amen. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. We are beautiful just the way we are. We are amazing just the way we are. We are audacious. And you said something that is so powerful. Maya Angelou said, you have to teach people how to treat you. And that is so profound.
Yes,
Our sister Maya Angelou, who was raped, who experienced teenage pregnancy, racism, but still, look at the legacy she left behind. She was a powerhouse.
Absolutely.
Right? So, I have chills listening to all that you just said just now.
Add one more thing, sis. One more thing. I just want to add this one more thing. Ladies, I'm not trying to say that it's not okay to be sexy. I'm simply saying that don't let sexy define you. That's all I'm saying. Sexy is only a part of your majesty and your wonder. There's so much more. Don't box yourself in. That's my point.
I thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's like we're here about racial profiling, and look at us. Because this is where it starts.
You to reel me back in. I told you to reel me back in.
That's okay. I didn't want to do that. It's not necessary. Because I think this is how it should be, right? When you're having conversations, it's organic conversations. And I'm just here to allow my guests to be their authentic self. And whatever comes up in that moment, in that space, exactly, this is a safe holding space for you to share. So Sean, with so much that you've shared with us tonight, tell me, where do you see yourself 6 months from now, 5 years from now, whatever? What are your plans for yourself?
I'll be honest. 6 months from now, I still feel that I'll be in a position, a grinding position. My 9 to 5. With one of my passions, which is helping the mentally ill, but at the same time, and children, but at the same time, still doing what I do on the side, which is building my brand and my business, staying up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, editing podcasts and writing articles. So I feel like the next 6 months to a year will probably look something like that. 5 years from now, I feel like my brand and my business is going to go to a higher level, and I plan on using that platform to continue to, help change and cultivate change in the community and build what I want to build, which is changing the game and bringing hip hop urban community, which is me, faith based community, which is me, activism, which is me, all together into the sports world and the entertainment world and make people realize that you can do anything you want to do and just be black and be amazing doing it. So that's the goal for me the next 5 years or so.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. And, oh, Matt is asking, what are your suggestions on bringing back Black love?
Oh my goodness. That's a loaded question. Big shout out to Mr. McCoy. Appreciate you, sir. It's not just one thing, it's a multitude of things. It's like I said before, it's loving ourselves. For matter of fact, what you said before, it's about loving yourself first, and then it's about changing the narrative. All we can do is start with ourselves, right? So if the narrative is that brothers are trifling, be less trifling. If the narrative is that brothers cheat and don't do right by their women, then be faithful and put it in your mind and be fervent in the fact that you're going to treat the lady that you're with respect and treat her the way you'd want somebody to treat your mother or your sister. If it's for the ladies, allowing previous hurt and previous disappointment to not affect your willingness to get to know somebody new and give somebody new a chance. And I believe if we just go into relationships and even dating, even if it's casual dating with a clean slate and leaving the past in the past and focus on treating, the golden rule still exists, Marie. Treating others how you want to be treated is still the golden rule. You do that, and I don't think you'll fail. I just think right now we're just so much in the mindset of wanting to be the one that doesn't succumb to the other that we forget that's the least important thing. Forget power plays. Just love on each other. Just be cool. Chill out. Just be easy.
Okay. And you know what? Oh, we could have like a whole, maybe we
Yes.
could have a whole conversation about this. But like just to add to what Matt also said and to add to what you have to say as well, I honestly believe that let's use the analogy of a car.
Mm-hmm.
You have your car and your engine goes bad. Don't you have to fix that engine before that car can go anywhere?
Well said.
I think it's the same analogy. When we enter relationships or when we have been exposed to whatever traumas, whatever pain, whatever low self-esteem, whatever it is that makes us who we are, and in this present situation, we have to unload those luggages that we carry. We can't be taking the past hurt from this relationship into the next relationship. It's not going to work.
That's a fact.
You got to give yourself time to heal. You got to spend time with yourself. Find out who you are, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Because half of us, we walk around and we're between clue and less. We don't understand who we are as an individual. So if you don't understand who you are as an individual, then how can you be in a relationship? If you don't know how to love yourself, how can you say you're going to love someone when you don't even know how to respect yourself, to be kind to yourself, to give yourself grace? I can't give you what I don't have. And I think that's where we have this breakdown in our relationships. Black men, we talk about Black men can't give us what they weren't taught. Children live what they learn, children learn what they live.
Mm-hmm.
If a Black man grows up seeing his father abusing his mother, being a womanizer, being a good for nothing, meaning that he's a drunk, he doesn't have, like, there's no role model. There is nothing for this child to follow. He's going to grow up and he's going to be like, you know what? I saw my daddy doing this, so therefore this is the right thing for me to do.
He thinks that's the way.
He thinks that's the way. You're absolutely right. So I think it's so it, and it's so much work that we have to do, but we have to be willing to do the work. But let's not digress, and let me get back to you, because that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
Sean, I sit here and you've been so vulnerable. And by the way, for viewers, vulnerability is a strength. And if you don't, in case you don't know, you hear this on tonight's show. Folks are always going to have something to say about you,
Oh, no doubt.
but it's what you say about yourself that's really relevant,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So, Sean, as a Christian, someone of faith, someone who has undeniable quest, the narrative, as someone who's so grounded and confident in who they are, what are some words of wisdom that you'd like to impart on us?
Be true to who you are. Be confident in who you are. Know that your flaws are just small, I guess you could say, small potholes or small leaping points that get towards your greatness. Realize that at the end of the day, you're not defined by your failures. You're defined by how many times you come back from your failures. Realize that there's only one perfect one, and that's God. So there should be no aspiration to be perfect. It's just the aspiration to do the best you can do for yourself and for your family. Um, know that you're loved, and that starts with you. Know that you're loved. Know that starts with God. Know that at the end of the day, that you are not what everyone else says you are. You are who God says you are. Look in the mirror. Seek out those good qualities. Seek out those things about you that make you different. Don't shy away from being different. Don't shy away from being unique. Look to yourself and look to your God and look to what you believe and realize that at the end of the day, your circumstances, your failures, and your tribulations do not define you. Instead, it is simply part of your journey. And it's something that's going to be a testimony once you get to the other side.
Thank you, Sean. Amen. Words. A thought just came to me when you were talking, right? If money was not an issue, we're going to play the miracle chair.
Okay.
Money was not an issue. Every you wanted, what would you do and why?
If money wasn't an issue, whew, that opens up so many possibilities. Well, number one, I definitely help build a ministry. You know, about help build upon my ministry at my church. I would donate. I already do, but I would donate big time amounts and add to the building and add to the ministry and donate and do whatever I have to do to help build up the kingdom. I would invest in myself. I would build myself a major studio and put myself in a position to, interview some of the biggest sports and civil rights people in the world. I'd have everybody from Dwayne The Rock Johnson all the way to Reverend Al Sharpton. You know what I'm saying? I would do everything. You know what I'm trying to say? And most of all, I would make changes. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by make changes, I'm not talking about changes to structure. I'm talking about changes to lives. I would build businesses. I would put people in a position to feed their families. I would make a fervent effort to eradicate homelessness. I would build, I would cultivate, I would try to inspire, and I would try to put people in a position to win. That's what I would do.
Okay,
And on a small scale, I'm doing that now. I'm just hoping that God blesses me with the resources to do more.
got it. And for tonight, I want you to take the word try out of your vocabulary.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Awesome.
All
I
right.
want you to finish the sentence. Sean is.
A charismatic, humble servant.
Love it. Love it. That just rolled off the tip of your tongue. So, Sean, We have come to the end of our show tonight. And I want to say, I am so appreciative for you being in this space and to be such an authentic person and to be vulnerable and to much with us, the knowledge that you imparted. And one of my biggest takeaway, and I hope other viewers are listening, vulnerability is your strength. You're not your past, and you have the power to change the trajectory of your life. You just have to want it that bad. We started talking about this 19-year-old who was exposed to this disrespect and just feeling less than a human being because of racial profiling, walking while black. But
Right.
listen to this powerhouse that we have here tonight. And this is what the Bold Show is all about. We're here to inspire, motivate, and impact others. So like I always say at the end of my show, I am super grateful and thankful. Have an amazing rest of the night and week on purpose because we're awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.